December 20th, 2009, Los Angeles, a house on Rancho Street in the Hollywood Hills. It's 8 a.m. Sunday. 32-year-old actress Brittany Murphy collapses in a second-floor bathroom. Her mother Sharon hears a thud and runs to her. Brittany's husband Simon Monjack attempts CPR. Minutes later, 911 is called. An ambulance arrives 8 minutes later. She's taken to Cedars-Sinai Hospital on Beverly Boulevard. At 10:24 a.m., she's pronounced dead. The cause of death, according to the coroner's initial statement, is cardiac arrest. And that's how it makes the early news. CNN, NBC, People, Daily Mail. That's where the story should have ended. The star of Changeling, The Losers Club, 8 Mile, and Up in the Air. The woman whose voice is remembered by millions as Luann's on 13 seasons of King of the Hill died of natural causes. A tragedy, but not a mystery. A heart attack in a young woman. It happens. Very rarely, but it does happen. And then things started getting strange. And the further the investigation went, the less clear it became. 5 months later, on May 23, 2010, in the same house, in the same bedroom, in the same bed, Simon Monjack dies. Her husband, 39 years old. Sharon, Brittany's mother, is living with him by this time. She hasn't moved out since her daughter's death. In the morning, she tries to wake him. He's unresponsive. She calls an ambulance. He's pronounced dead at the scene. The official cause of death is acute pneumonia and severe anemia. Exactly the same two diagnoses that Brittany had already been diagnosed with. The same clinical presentation, the same location, the same age at risk. Both were in their prime, with no chronic illnesses. Two people who slept in the same bed died from the same combination of causes 5 months apart. Los Angeles County Deputy Coroner Ed Winter publicly called the coincidence unusual. That's a very cautious word for what happened. Tabloids around the world ran the same headline: The Curse of the Ranch Street House. Journalists tried to get inside. No one was allowed in. Two people, in the same bed, from the same illness, 5 months apart. In America, the death of two spouses from pneumonia in the same house, back to back, is statistically almost impossible. But it happened. That's what forced the coroner, the police, and the journalists to take a second look at the whole story. From the very beginning. Let's go back. Brittany Ann Murphy Bertolotti was born in Atlanta, Georgia, on November 10, 1977. When she was 2, her parents divorced. Her mother took her and returned with her to New Jersey. Angelo Bertolotti, Brittany's father, served time in federal prison for organized crime ties. After his release, he was virtually absent from her life. This is an important detail. It will resurface in history many years later with accusations that will upend the entire investigation. Sharon raised her daughter alone, moving with her to California when Brittany was 13. Mother and daughter were unusually close. Brittany's agent, Joanne Colonna, would later tell reporters they finished each other's sentences. They were best friends. That closeness never changed. Brittany started acting at 12. Commercials, sitcom cameos, small roles. At 17, she landed the role that made her a star, Ty in Clueless, 1995. Director Amy Heckerling said of her, "She had this special electric energy. She didn't act, she radiated." Her talent was obvious. Her voice was recognizable. Her comedic instincts were rare. In 2000, she starred in Changeling with Angelina Jolie. She played a schizophrenic in a psychiatric hospital, and critics unanimously called her performance one of the best in the film. In 2002, 8 Mile with Eminem. In 2005, Sin City with Robert Rodriguez. Over her 15-year career, she worked with Robert De Niro, Ashton Kutcher, Dakota Fanning, Drew Barrymore, and Dee Blessett. She voiced every episode of the animated series King of the Hill for 13 seasons, one of the longest tenures in the history of American television. And then Simon Monjack came into her life, and everything started going wrong. Simon Monjack, British screenwriter, director, producer. At least, that's how he presented himself. By the time they met in 2006, he was already facing dozens of civil lawsuits in various countries. Accusations of fraud, lies about his education, background, connections, and pedigree. Fictitious contracts he signed with actors and investors. Money he took for projects and never repaid. He was officially declared bankrupt before he even met Brittany. He lied about his age. He lied about studying at Oxford, which never existed in his biography. He lied about working with Madonna, Nicole Kidman, and Hugh Grant. These celebrities later publicly denied it. His ex-fiancée, Elizabeth Ragsdale, later told HBO documentarians, "He took credit for other people's accomplishments. He lied about everything. He was a pathological liar. I've never met a more talented liar in my life." Another ex-partner, Simone Bell, gave birth to his child, whom he later denied. Simon never mentioned this child when Brittany met him. Brittany married him in April 2007, less than a year after dating, without a prenuptial agreement, against the wishes of most of her friends and colleagues. The wedding was private. Not a single one of Brittany's close friends was in attendance. Her agent, Joanne Colonna, would later say in an interview, "We all saw what was happening. No one could reach her. He cut her off from everyone who loved her." Immediately after her wedding, Brittany's career began to crumble. Studios stopped hiring her. The official reason was insurance issues. No one said it openly, but everyone in Hollywood knew. Brittany couldn't get any more work because Simon Monjack became an uncontrollable problem on every set she was hired on. He showed up on set, interfered with her work, demanded rewrites of her scenes, criticized directors, picked fights with producers. 2 years before her death, she switched from major Hollywood projects to low-budget independent films. In November 2009, a month before her death, she flew to Puerto Rico to film The Caller. It was supposed to be her comeback role after a long hiatus. She was fired on the first day of filming. According to several independent sources, it was because Simon showed up on set drunk and started a fight with the director. Producer Robinson Devine later said, "We've never seen such behavior from an actress's husband. It was hell." On the plane home, Simon claimed he had a mild heart attack. Brittany administered CPR to him right there in the business class cabin. When the plane landed in Los Angeles, he wasn't hospitalized. He simply walked out of the airport. She returned to Los Angeles, sick, laryngitis, a cough that wouldn't stop, weakness, progressive exhaustion. According to those around her, she had 2 menstrual cycles in 1 calendar month, a sign of a serious internal problem associated with blood loss and anemia. Her hemoglobin level, which would later be found during an autopsy, was a 3, a number that doctors call incompatible with life. A normal level for a healthy woman is 12 to 16. Hers was a 3. In this state, people don't walk, don't work, don't talk. They lie down, are in intensive care, receive blood transfusions. Brittany, in this state, cared for her husband, her sick mother, and continued to live her normal life. For 6 weeks, she didn't see a doctor. For 6 weeks, she thought she could cope on her own. Finally, on Friday, December 18th, she called to make an appointment. The appointment was scheduled for Monday, the 21st. She didn't live to see Monday. Her last words, according to Sharon's mother, were, "Mom, I'm dying. I love you." The autopsy revealed a picture that contradicts the initial diagnosis of heart attack. The initial official conclusion changes a few weeks later. The new conclusion? Community-acquired pneumonia, complicated by severe iron deficiency anemia and multiple drug intoxications. Elevated levels of hydrocodone, a prescription-only narcotic painkiller, were found in her blood. Acetaminophen, levomethamphetamine, a component of some nasal sprays, chlorpheniramine, a cocktail of over-the-counter cold medications mixed with a prescription drug. In a state of exhaustion and severe anemia with a hemoglobin level of C3, this could have killed. And, according to the official version, it did. The death was ruled accidental. The case was closed without a criminal investigation. 5 months of silence. Then, Simon, May 23, 2010. Same bed, same house, same combination of diagnoses, pneumonia plus severe anemia. The coroner again says, accidental death. Coincidence? Deputy Chief Coroner Ed Winter utters a phrase at a press conference that will later be quoted in every documentary about the case. It's unusual, but it's not mold-related. The Los Angeles County Department of Health was considering toxic mold poisoning from the walls of the house. Simon himself filed a lawsuit against the builders and subcontractors for substandard materials and leaks. In the fall of 2009, he ordered a full inspection of the house. The results came back clean. No mold. But labs can be wrong. The tests may not detect something that's actually there. This theory was never followed through. And then Angelo Bertolotti entered the picture, Brittany's father, the man who had been absent from her life for decades. He learned of his daughter's death from the news, like everyone else, and this guilt, from years of absence, culminated in an obsession. He didn't believe the official version. He studied every documentary investigation, every article, every coroner's report, and he began raising money for an independent investigation. In January 2012, he filed a petition in the California Supreme Court. He demanded that the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office release samples of his daughter's hair for independent testing. The court granted the request. The samples were sent to a private lab. In November 2013, Bertolotti released the results. Abnormally high concentrations of 10 heavy metals were found in Brittany's hair: antimony, barium. These two specific metals are used as components in certain poisons, specifically rat poison and metalworking chemicals. Their presence in her hair at such concentrations could not be explained by normal household environmental exposure or the products she used. Bertolotti publicly declared his daughter had been poisoned. Slowly, over the course of months, he directly accused two people: her husband, Simon Monjack, and her mother, Sharon. He alleged that the two, either together or in turn, had been mixing poison into her food or medications as her condition worsened. Sharon responded with an open letter to The Hollywood Reporter. She called the accusations pathetic and based on the flimsiest evidence imaginable. She pointed out that hair analysis is an unreliable method for determining intentional poisoning because metals can enter hair through shampoo, tap water, and even dust in the room. 10 different metals could have 10 different explanations. She concluded the letter with a challenge: "As long as I live, I will defend her memory from those who would exploit it." Independent toxicologists consulted by journalists from leading American publications were divided in their assessment of the results. Some experts said that such concentrations of 10 metals could indeed be significant and warranted further investigation. Others believed it was most likely foreign contamination, from hair dye, water from faulty pipes, or contaminated household dust. The Los Angeles County coroner, after reviewing these results, declined to reopen the case. A police investigation into the circumstances of the death was never opened. No criminal charges were ever brought against anyone. Not Simon before his death, not Sharon after, not to this day. In 2021, HBO Max released a two-part documentary, What Happened Brittany Murphy. Journalists working on the film reconstructed the final months of her life from accounts of acquaintances, colleagues, people from film sets, and former partners of Simon Monjack. Makeup artist Trista Jordan, who worked with Brittany on her final film in 2009, described her this way: "Her eyes were sunken. She was so thin her legs couldn't support her, like a baby deer that had just been born. She was in terrible pain. She was a different woman than the one I knew." This was just months before her death. Simon's ex-fiancée, Elizabeth Ragsdale, said in the film, "I think even if Simon didn't directly kill Brittany, he let her die. He didn't take her to a doctor. He didn't seek help. He let her die in their bed, and then he did the same to himself. Maybe that was his only way to avoid responsibility." People magazine journalist Sarah Hummel, who followed Brittany's case for several years, said something in the same film that sums up the whole story. If it weren't for Simon Monjack, Brittany Murphy would likely be alive. That's what this case proves. The official story could be true. Brittany could have died of pneumonia, exacerbated by anemia, and an overdose of over-the-counter medications she was taking to fight a cold. Simon could have died from the same thing because they lived in the same house, breathed the same air, and perhaps took the same medications. Coincidences happen. Tragedies happen. Pneumonia still kills about 40,000 people a year in America. It's possible. But here's what's not explained: the lack of the usual reaction. No friends, no agent, no manager, no doctors present for the actress who spent 6 weeks dying in front of everyone. A strange marriage to a man whose only proven accomplishment was lying, isolation, control over her career, finances, social connections. Two people dying in the same bed, heavy metals in her hair, dismissed as contamination, the complete lack of a police investigation, the coroner's refusal to reconsider the findings, and a woman who, at 32, told her mother, "Mom, I'm dying. I love you," because she knew she was dying. 6 weeks. But she didn't call the doctor until Friday, 2 days before she died. The truth is, we'll never know what killed Brittany Murphy. Her body was cremated within weeks of her death, one of the decisions Father Bertolotti would later call suspiciously swift. Her grave is in Forest Lawn in the Hollywood Hills. Her tombstone reads, "Brittany Murphy Monjack, beloved wife, daughter, and friend, tender, sincere, talented, faithful." But alongside those words lies a lingering question. If it was pneumonia, why didn't anyone treat her for the 6 weeks she lay dying? If poisoning, who and with what? If simply a coincidence, why did it happen the way it did, with two people in the same bed, with the same combination of illnesses, 5 months apart? The case is officially closed. Both death certificates have been signed. The statistics have been entered into databases, but one thing remains in the minds of everyone who has seriously studied this story.